Hey, welcome to another episode of O'Reilly O'Reilly. Today's guest is Elizabeth Bennett. Elizabeth is the CEO of Courageous Network, author of Courageous Conversations, a guide for parents to connect with their teens. She's an international speaker. She shared the stage with Les Brown, Sharon Lechter, Mark Victor Hansen of Chicken Soup for the Soul stories, and other well-known key speakers. 35 years as a teacher, administrator, and coach with recognition awards all throughout her career. She's here today to talk about her story as a child, growing up, and her struggles and successes, and share some of her experiences with students and parents around the topics of mental health and bullying. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Well, hi, Steve. Thanks for having me on your show.
Yeah, thanks for being my first interview on O'Reilly O'Reilly. I appreciate it. So you and I met, I'm going to say August, at a CIBN luncheon. And
Right.
as soon as you stood up and spoke, I thought, I got to meet that lady. And you knew exactly what you were doing and just your confidence up there. And then the fact that you're serving parents and students, that's what I'm doing as well as I get started on my journey. And so we also wanted to talk about bullying. And as I think about bullying, I was always the shy guy, kind of holding off in the back. Played sports, so that really helped thicken my skin. And as I grew, or well, I guess going through school, there was always two or three kids that always got picked on. And I was not one of the kids that got picked on, but I was certainly there to laugh, and I was certainly there to fit in with the group that was doing the bullying. And David, I'm sorry. Uh, yeah, that was one guy I remember we'd always see on the way home. We always walked everywhere in town, and we'd always, call out something across the lane or whatever. And he was a bit of a nerd at the time, but never knew any different. I never bothered to speak to him or get to know him at all, right? And we don't as kids. And I'm sure it's the same today, only it seems to be ramped up to, with cell phones and pictures and FaceTime and anonymous names on Instagram. And, it just seems like there's a whole stage there to promote bullying.
Well, and our environment at the moment doesn't help. So, if we look at the political structures in the world at the moment, I mean, we've lost our collective minds because we're so incredibly positional and we don't take the time even to listen. Because although someone's perspective or their position or whatever we want to say, whether it's governmental in terms of parties or it's authority and being working for someone or whatever the situation might be, and including schools, I think we need to be looking at and you just mentioned it about finding out more about somebody else. You don't have to agree, but at least be respectful of other people's opinions, of other people's lifestyle, or or where they come from, or so on. And because what that does is it makes our relationships more valuable and more solid together, rather than always picking on somebody or saying something or making some rude, crude, or socially unacceptable comment. Like, what's the purpose in that? And I get, because I hear this often enough, hurt people. But we need to be able to help those hurt people. And we need to be able to provide an opportunity and a foundation for them to grow, because they're human too. Like, they're like you and I, but we often, put people aside, or we, denigrate them, or we say things that aren't necessary. And, and then we hang on and then we say to them, oh, I was only kidding. No, you're not. When you think about how you act, that is something that you're doing intentionally. And what do you gain from that?
Yeah, and there's no awareness around that. Like, well, this is just what I do. This is a habit for me, and this is what I do. to fit
Well, and
in
in
or whatever,
it's
right? For me, it was to fit in because everybody else was doing it.
absolutely there's a lot,
And
and that's part of the pressure that happens with kids these days because the expectation is that they have to fit in or they're going to be the next one to be bullied, or if it's okay to stand around, but we are all responsible. We're
yeah,
responsible when
absolutely.
we don't respond or when we don't act, and we're responsible in that space when we are attacking someone else.
Yeah.
So
And to have the courage to decide, hey, wait a minute, we're bullying. That's what we're
yeah,
doing, bullying, to stand up and say, hey guys, back off, leave them alone. Let's go.
yeah.
We don't need to be doing that. To have the courage as a student to stand up and say that, that'd take a lot. But
Well, and that's part
aware
of
of it.
resiliency, right? And
Yeah,
being able to provide students with those skills and with a little extra self-esteem and a little extra courage to be able to say, you know what, in the end, it's going to be okay. Because whether you know it or not, you might end up saving some kid's life.
yeah, absolutely. Just knowing that someone else has gone through this and come out the other side just took off successful, right? And that's what I want to do, like
Yeah.
that's where we have to make them aware that there is another way. There is light beyond school, right?
Yeah. Well, and the skills that you learn there. So, the foundational skills of resiliency and having tough conversations and, stepping in when you see something going on or so on. Those are skills that will help you forever.
Absolutely. And increase that box that we think in, right?
You bet.
That's
Well,
what
or
we need to
bust out
create.
of it, because that's what I'd like to do is,
Yeah,
be a disruptor and bust out of the box
yeah,
so that you feel empowered, no matter how old you are, right? And I don't mean empowered in a cocky or a disrespectful kind of way, but just feeling empowered to say, you know
yeah,
what? I made a good decision by helping that kid. Whether I know that kid or not, I made a good decision today.
yeah. And it'll build you up even more, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
empowered to yourself,
Yes.
empowered to have the courage to just stand up and say, it doesn't have to be a fight or anything else. It's like, hey, we shouldn't be doing that. Let's go.
Yeah.
And yeah, that would take something. It wouldn't have been me. But if I was made aware of it, there was a conversation or a place I could go to hear that, be
Mhm.
like, hey, maybe that would be me. Right. I like to think it would be, but back then I was pretty shy and just wanted to fit in. So I wasn't the one getting bullied. Right. So yeah, that's a tough one for today. I must say. I've heard lots of different stories. One was I forget the guy who was telling us. It was a doctor, but he he was approached by a client of his to say, Doc, what do I do? My son is, just given up. And he said, well, the first thing they talked about was, well, put away the phone for 30 days,
Huh.
right? Put away the phone for 30 days. Don't even have anything to do with any social media, email, even calling people. Call people that you need to call, I guess, somewhere else, but not on your phone. Put it away. And 30 days later, the guy was back running and getting himself in shape. And he was only 18 or 20 years old, but everything picked up for him. And he said it was a dopamine, uh, his dopamine levels had fallen because as you watch a funny video or something, your dopamine levels go up and then you got to find
Mhm.
another one. And a couple of years of that is like, there is no more dopamine. You're all day, you're trying to entertain yourself with 30-second clips of cats or dogs or sports or whatever, right? And and that's what it took for him to come back. It was, she could remember the term. And it was very interesting to know. Park the phone for a little while, get away from the phone, because that's where a lot of the hurt can come from. You made
Mhm.
a post, nobody liked it. Oh, you got to make another post, and then somebody made fun of it, and then that went viral. So yeah, it's a dangerous place to be, right? When
Well,
you're
and that's part of what I talk about with parents in order to encourage them to have some tech-free time. And that
yeah,
includes, turning off the TV if you're still watching that, or the cell phone or the computers or the video games or anything, and do different other things that engage you in conversation. And
yeah,
is it going to happen overnight? No. But it needs to happen in order for us to continue to stay healthy. Because right now, kids are diving into their cell phones. And as wonderful as cell phones are for keeping in communication and, gathering ideas and so on, and it's a virtual place to be able to get information, particularly with, things that are happening these days in the world with devastation and, war and so on. From that standpoint, or being in contact with someone because you need to. But other than that, what ends up happening is kids are looking for that virtual perfect world where they need that likes all the time for, anything that they're posting or having conversation about. And then they're looking to all these stars that they believe, have these perfect lives. And we know full well that many of those people are only showing the perfect picture of that moment, right? And that you
like
don't.
everybody does.
That's right. And then you don't see what's really behind people. And so that's a mixed message. And then there are places and spaces that are attracting kids that are very dark. And sexting is going on. And I was just speaking with a woman earlier today about the whole idea of sex trafficking and that it happened with her child and she didn't know, right? Because it was that predatory space. So if you're not getting the comfort and acknowledgement and support from home, you're going to pick up your phone because you're going to get it there.
Yeah.
And maybe not in the best kind of way.
Yeah. It's unrestrained, really, isn't it?
Yep.
You know what I
Well,
mean?
and then it leads to, higher anxiety and mental health concerns and, social isolation, because then kids start to hide away, or even adults in some cases. So they'll start doing drugs, or they'll start drinking, or they'll start cutting. And then that kind of all those pressures collapse in on them and they can't see beyond what's happening right here. And if they don't talk about it or don't have an avenue to express themselves or to share it with someone else, then that collapse makes them feel like there isn't any other way. And so they choose a permanent solution to somewhat of a temporary problem.
Yeah. So is that what you do at Courageous Network?
Yes.
Take
I
on
have those
parents?
kinds of conversation with parents in order to help them, because what I'm trying to do is trying to be the voice for children and trying to be the voice for young people, because I've been in the field of education for a long time. And I've heard many kids say, I don't feel listened to. I don't feel valued. I don't feel like I have a voice. I don't even know whether I have purpose. And all we do is yell and scream at home. And it's a terrible kind of place. And so I pull up my hoodie and I hide in my room. I listen to music, or, I go on my cell phone, or I play video games. And then parents who have come to see me to ask for support say, I don't know how to connect with my teen or my kid because it's getting younger and younger now. Or, I don't know what's going on with them. I don't know where they're going or what they're doing or so on. And I'm afraid for them. And but I feel so disconnected and I don't know what to do in order to regain a connection with them.
Do you think it's too late to start a movement to
No, it's not too late.
name it on a phone?
It's never going to be too late to start a movement. That's what I want to do, is to reach as many families as I can to get them reconnected, because it doesn't matter whether you're 5 or whether you're 55. You still can have those courageous conversations, talk about things that are challenging, understanding each other without judgment.
Yeah. And they not only in school, but after school, if that, drive is kind of, down, and the belief is, well, I'm not very good at anything. I'm a bit of a failure. And so I'll try and get a job somewhere.
Yeah.
That young adult right now, into 30s, that still live in the basement, and that whole generation, it just seems like if they thought differently, which I guess is also people we need to reach, they could start realizing that box is probably not true. The box you
Right.
think in can be as big as you want. You just got to punch out one side of it and then start living your dream.
Or lift the lid off.
Yeah.
but
Well, there's
I
a
think, but I think what happens with that is if young folks don't know to do that, right?
right.
Because all they've heard is you're not good enough. I mean, particularly if they've heard it in their environment at home or in their local surroundings. You're not good enough. You should die, and all those horrible things that they can hear.
Yeah.
The more you hear that, the more you fall into that place of, oh my God, am I good enough to do anything? And so that's where we need to have that safety net for them to be able to say, wait a minute, you're better than that. This is a
Yeah.
place here. Let me give you a hand with this. The work that you're doing, Steve, is magnificent for getting kids connected to people in education or business, or so that they can have mentors, so that they can see that there are other possibilities. And in
Yeah.
some cases, some of those kids that you're going to work with might very well share what's going on at home. And it might just be that relief and that release, so that then there's space for them to show up to be the bigger, better person that we all know that they are.
Yeah. Right. So thank you very much again, Elizabeth. It's been a pleasure. You're now on the O'Reilly O'Reilly episode, so this could go down in history as but I thank you very much. Any final words for the group?
Oh, just we need to be able to step into conversations with courage and step into our life with courage.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
that'll start with awareness from within.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. And we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks, Steve. It was a
All the
pleasure
best.
being with you. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Bye bye.